welcome to Talk Together. This is our Friday night talk show where we chat to people about D&D and why they like it, and other TTRPGs maybe, and the stuff that they do in the TTRPG streaming realm. You may notice I have a friend here with me today who is not part of the usual Roll Together crew. That's because we have Paul from Ampersand, and you're part of the stream team, are you not, Paul?
I am indeed. Hello. Thank you very, very much for having me. Hello, friend. Yes, I am Paul, aka Ampersand. I'm a forever DM. I stream D&D on my Twitch channel. I make supposedly funny TikToks, and I'm about on the Twitter community every now and then.
Fabulous. We'll get into a lot more of that in just a second. I've just got to acknowledge we have a raid around us. You may not be able to see. If you look up, actually, Paul, you may be able to see there's some sponsors and supporters listed above and below you, including Hero Forge, Ultra Pro, Phoenix Dice, Alchemy RPG, Idle Champions, Neverwinter, Eldermont Academy, and D&D Beyond. Thank you all very much for sponsoring us. And we also have our D20 Club, our Roll Together D20 Club, who are our Patreons, and they're all really marvelous. And we thank them for everything that they give us, because it allows us to do all of the stuff that we do. And if you want to follow us on socials, you can find us at Roll Together RPG, and the same if you're trying to find us on YouTube if you want to watch this again after the fact. That's all my official bump that I've got to do. So you mentioned that you also do the social medias and the TikToks. We're sort of relatively new to doing the TikToks. What do you TikTok when you TikTok?
I try and TikTok TTRPG content, but I struggle because I want to lip sync most of the time, as TikTok tends to be.
Yeah.
So occasionally I just throw in random videos of my dogs where they're being a bit daft, or random dice rolls. I've tried to get stream clips over to TikToks, but I feel like TTRPGs and D&Ds don't really favor that compared to when you stream other games. They're not really compatible because there's so many things on screen that you need to see. I attempt TikTok. It's a young man's game, and I'm not a young man anymore.
I've not even tried. Like, we leave our TikTok shenanigans in the hands of Tom, and he seems to be doing a good job, but our content keeps getting pulled up for question as to whether it's appropriate or not, and then we have to tell him, no, it's fine, and they go, oh yes, no, it is fine. But there's lots of queries.
I just had to question that. I'm sorry. I just wanted to check with you that it was fine. Okay.
Yeah. But yeah, I imagine that it's great if you've got like super quick, quippy moments or silly moments that are very short, or like double entendres or that kind of stuff, but not necessarily for really getting into the, like, if you have a really emotional getting into the weeds of stuff scene that plays out over like maybe 5 or 10 minutes, it's not as ideal for promoting that.
Yes, I also found, because we've been streaming for so long, a lot of the bits we find funny are in-jokes.
Yeah.
And references to like 17 sessions ago. And on TikTok, there's no long form storytelling on there. It's literally, if you don't tell the joke in 90 seconds that everybody gets, you're not making a good video.
Yeah.
And TTRPGs, or the way I do TTRPGs, just doesn't favor that.
Yeah. So do you do promotion on any other types of social media?
So yeah, I'm on the Twitter.
On the Twitters.
On the Twitters. A lot of my tweets for promotion are scheduled. I try to spend like an hour every Friday and do the following week's posts. And I try and keep up with everybody else's. You can find me on all of the socials that I am on at AmpersandD20. I seem to have monopolized the name.
That's good.
Surprisingly.
Good
yeah. So mostly Twitter. I did try and move to Mastodon and the B one that I forgot the name of. Hive, yes. I associate it with bees, but that makes sense. Yeah. I just couldn't do it, and then everyone's still on Twitter, so I just go there.
Yeah. It's a strange game, social media promotion these days, and it feels like an exhausting job trying to keep up with what you can and can't do anymore, or where's good and where's not. So I don't envy anyone who spends their time sort of actively. I sort of do it a little bit for me, promoting my work, but it's not on the same level as like a company or
absolutely
like a producer. I've got on a big sidebar about social media and promotion stuff before we've even really got into the weeds of what you do at Ampersand. So, I mean, the clue is in the sort of the fact that you're here suggests that you may or may not do D&D.
Yeah, that's pretty much it. That's all I do, really. Yeah, I stream Dungeons and Dragons. I've got a Curse of Strahd game on Tuesday nights, and a Homebrew Havoc game on most Thursday nights. We do a 3-on, 1-off system. And yeah, Curse of Strahd, really easy. I've run it before. Beautiful horror game. I keep trying to tell my players that it's supposed to be a scary adventure. They're taking the mick most of the time and refusing to follow plot hooks. But Homebrew Havoc is my baby. We have just passed the 1-year mark, entering towards the end of season 1, and all of my players have not only already signed up to season 2, but have already started making characters for season 2. And I haven't even finished what we're going to do on season 1 yet, so that's exciting.
I think if there's one sort of like truth or certainty in this world, that is that if someone wants to play D&D, they've got a back catalogue of characters they've not had a chance to play yet that they really want to.
Absolutely, yeah. But yeah, Homebrew Havoc is basically a community creation, as the name suggests. I just contacted a bunch of content creators who were so busy creating content, they didn't have time to show it off on stream or test it in a real game. And I said, look, I want to DM. I can't be bothered to create content. You're creating content, but don't have time to DM. Why don't we help each other out? And I can DM all of your stuff. So all the monsters, NPCs, plot hooks, locations, characters, playable characters, everything. It's all homebrew, not a single WotC product in the game. And we've been going on for a year now. A lot of the plot hooks were even sent to me as hey, it'd be really cool if this idea happened. I'm like, yes, it would. I will crowbar it in.
Let's do that.
Yeah. The biggest one was someone told me, what if there was doppelgangers of all the players that followed the players around or was just ahead of all the players' adventurers? And I was like, that sounds amazing. And that sort of plot hook is just coming into fruition now. And it's been going on for over a year. These doppelgangers have been following them for over a year of real life. In the campaign, I think it's like 2 weeks, but...
Okay. This isn't like a spoiler for your players for that.
No, they know that season 1 is coming to an end, and they know about the doppelgangers.
Okay, cool. But spoilers for people who wanted to go back and watch it from the start. You have to go back and pretend that you didn't hear that. But know that plot hook is there and it could be cool.
Yes, it's coming. Keep an eye out for it.
That's very cool. That's a really nice sort of community feel to doing that. Are you so you run Homebrew Havoc? Are you the sole DM on that?
I am. Yes. Project? All the projects I do, I am the sole DM. I don't like the idea of sharing control, which is why I am a forever DM. I've been a player before for D&D, especially. I get bored after 4 sessions.
Really?
Because I want to change character. Like you said, I've got about 50 characters I want to play. And because there's not enough campaigns in the world and they all go on too long, I just create NPCs around all the characters in my head instead. And then I can play them all and do everything and get to control the world. Not that I have a controlling complex or anything, but yeah, pretty much.
So I find that an interesting approach. Well, apart from that, actually, point one, is one of the things I enjoy about some of the stuff that we do at Roll Together is we have the mix of, we have longer campaigns, but we also have short 4-parter campaigns.
Yeah.
So actually we churn through loads of different characters and loads of different scenarios and loads of different DMs as well.
Yes.
That sort of gives everyone a chance to get through that back catalogue of characters and play lots of different things. So I don't know if that would work with your setup if you're doing like longer campaign. You've got your published campaign and then you're also doing the homebrew stuff. I guess some of it might be worth thinking if some of the ideas that you're using of other people's would work better in a short form setting.
Well, I do have a group of players. They're called the playtesters. And what we've started doing is about once every 6 weeks, we take somebody's Kickstarter idea or campaign idea, and we do a rough one-shot. It's normally about 3 sessions. So the latest one we did was by Awfully Queer Heroes. They've got a Kickstarter coming out. They needed playtesting. So I said, look, I'll grab the players. You give me a test of your module, and I'll run it, and I'll provide feedback. And we are currently looking for another session to run. The playtesters have said, yeah, we'll do this whenever you call upon us. Give us a week notice to create a character. And so, yeah, you're absolutely right. Basically, I get other people's ideas and run them, which is what Ampersand Productions was originally about. It's just giving people an opportunity to show off their work.
Do you get the creators of the content in as players sometimes as well?
No, I actually ban them because, well, they know the content and they have expectations.
True.
What I provide is an outside look without that bias, without having created it step by step, without going through all the different drafts of it. They're obviously allowed to watch and, take notes of seeing us play. And then afterwards, I have a feedback sheet that I fill out and get all the players to fill out. We spend about 90 minutes after the final session just talking about the campaign. And we talk about what was a DM decision versus a module decision. Because there might be parts they really like. And, those parts are the parts I added, in which case it's kind of irrelevant to the feedback. And likewise, there might be parts that they don't like. And that would be me, in which case I don't tell them. But yeah, so we provide feedback. It's a really good idea so far. We've had 3 people come to us and say, can you test this out? And we have enjoyed each and every one of them, and we are looking for more. So if anyone has a Kickstarter out there who wants it tested out, come chat to me.
Yeah, fair enough. There was a question I was thinking of right in the middle of that, and I think it's gone from my brain.
Apologies.
It's not your fault. I've had a very long day, so excuse me. The other thing I wanted to pick up on was you said that you love to have control of everything, which I think as a DM, but also you might not know this, in my real life, I'm a director. So I get that sense of like having a vision in my head and playing. But do you find, how do you find it then when players come in with their own ideas? Like, do you have moments of going, oh mate, actually that's fantastic, let's do that? Like, well, I had something cool, that's better.
Yeah, absolutely. What I like to do before every campaign is have your normal session 0, all the players and you, and I also have one-on-one session 0s where I get each player individually, discuss their character, discuss their hopes and their ideas and their character arc. Because I hate it when, you spend, let's say, a year running a campaign and your character hasn't changed at all. We as human beings are so different after a year, and we don't go on adventures. If I went on an adventure and leveled up by 4 levels, like in my imaginary world, I'd be a completely different person. And that's what I absolutely love. Not to give any more spoilers away for Homebrew Havoc for people who want to go back, but there is a character played by Tony, great player, who starts off as a drunk. Just starts off loving alcohol, a rebellious teenager type person from a royal family, but incredibly rebellious. She ends up overthrowing her corrupt parents and becoming a lady of the land and completely changing character. And that was all her idea, pretty much. We discussed it. I talked to my players as we go on. I have session 0.5s, roughly halfway through, just to see where it goes. And if I think there's a moment where we can create a dramatic scene or a heart-wrenching scene or a big epic moment in the campaign, I'll message them outside and say, what do you think to this? Or do you have any ideas about this? And half the time, their ideas are by far better than mine. And I love players who take the reins a little bit and guide the campaign, because I'm making up as we go along. So if you have some control over it in those moments, those little moments, then that's absolutely wonderful. I love it when players come to me and say, I want to do this, or I want this to happen. I'm like, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, great. And with the, I'd sort of circle back around to what we were talking about with your homebrew havoc and doing the feedback. I think it's sort of a slightly more unusual concept for TTRPGs is having that the playtest that's outside of the group of the people who are making it in the first place. Like, it's such a really useful idea, and I think I just wanted to highlight this this concept in making sure that people get that it is a positive thing, because it could sound a little bit like, oh, we're just TTRPG players looking for free stuff to play, which again, you also get that sort of vibe with you get a lot of streamers nowadays who play video games that are like, give me games, I'll stream them. It's good for you, but there's a bit of a hierarchical attitude. But again, coming at it from a director's point of view, I work a lot with new writing scripts for audio and theatre, and it's great to have those workshops. And if you want to stream it, if you want an audience to see it as well, then that's great. But anything creative, there's you can just sit there and write it on your own and then put it out into the world. But it is always nice to get that sort of community feedback and group feedback rather than just
I think one of the unique selling points that we had was the unbiased view that we provided. A lot of the stuff that we did, I'd never seen before. I'd never even worked with the creators before. And I think it was really important for them that we gave honest feedback. And yeah, we did benefit from it because we already had an audience. If you were interested in this creator, come watch this playtest of their stuff. So it was absolutely a bit of give and take, but even if there wasn't, even if they said, I want you to playtest this, but can you please not stream it? I'd be like, yeah, sure, that's absolutely fine. And it's interesting you keep talking about from a director's point of view. I'm a trained and passionate video editor. I loved editing. Took it at uni, do it now a little bit. I love taking something and then molding it into something else or like something better or more impactful. So yeah, taking on community projects like that was something I was pretty much always going to do, even if I didn't realize it was something I was going to do. And yeah, completely unbiased opinion. If there are areas that need improvement or need changing, I'm not shy about telling them that. I do it in a constructive way, of course. But I think that honest feedback is more important than me lying to you. And I also provide quotes that you can use on your Kickstarter page with links to the videos. So it helps anyone who wants to donate or sign up to your Kickstarter has a place to look at that stuff to get a real taste of real people playing it. Yeah,
no, that's great. I imagine the video editing skills come in handy for streaming and online production as well.
Yes, they absolutely do. I got into the TTRPG community by offering my video editing skills to people, by creating like idents and video graphics for their campaigns. Nice. It's an absolute nightmare now because now I have 3-hour sessions to edit and I regret all of it. But little bit, it's like 1 minute long. Fine, that's where I'm at.
Yeah. I remember I used to do audio editing on a different TTRPG podcast that I was part of, and I really enjoyed it. And I really enjoy creating essentially an audio drama out of our sessions. But oh boy, did I overextend from the start out of that sort of naive enthusiasm of being like, oh, I could do this and this and this. But once you set the bar that high straight out the bat, if things get more and more epic and more complicated, the work just spirals and spirals.
I hate audio editing with a passion. I'm hard of hearing as it is, so I struggle anyway, and I just don't know it as much as I do like video editing. So I often would outsource that. The audio editing is outsourced to someone who can hear, which I think is completely fair on my part, to be honest, and someone who might enjoy it. I don't really care if they do or not enjoy it, as long as I'm not the one doing it. It's fine.
Fair enough. Well, we've successfully filled nearly Only 15, 20 minutes before I'm supposed to be rolling a dice to ask questions. We've got an official list of questions.
As a secondary option, it's fine.
Yeah. So I might, as they say, roll that dice. So I've come up with a 3.
Okay.
So that means I ask you this.
Okay.
What is your favorite character class?
You know what? If you had asked me 3 months ago, I would have said Bard in an instant without even thinking about it.
But now,
Soul Knife Rogue is just so beautiful. Soul Knife Rogue, I think, is my go-to. I will play it in every campaign. I know it very, very well now. I could play it in a moment, pretty much, without even looking at the character sheet. I would just make one up in my head. Soul Knife Rogue, I think it has the range that I personally enjoy, and all the wonderful traits of a rogue, who I think is either the best or very close second to Bard in terms of being able to be useful in role-playing and in combat. It does favor the combat slightly more than the Bard does, obviously, or most Bards. There are combat-focused Bards if you really want. But yeah, I love the combat so much. I love the role-playing so much that I could never play just a straight fighter, barbarian, ranger. And I don't like the magic casters because they're kind of complicated for me. And I can't be bothered to distinguish all the rules between like wizard and cleric. A rogue, soul knife, nice and easy, throw knives. And you can flavor it, I think, as well, really nicely. I think like reskinning it or flavoring it is really easy for Soul Knife Rogue. So that's my answer, Soul Knife.
Yeah, no, that's fair. Yeah, I've never played a Soul Knife Rogue myself. It's quite funny you saying like you'd never go for the sort of the straightforward combat classes of like fighter and barbarian. I'm like, those are the ones I play. And then also going into the magic casters, it tends to be cleric. But yeah, it's less typical for me to play a bard or a rogue, although they're the ones I've played most recently, actually. But yeah, in terms of a soul knife, I've seen them played, and I've sort of I've read them in the books, and it's got that sort of great atmospheric flavor to it, and spiritual magical flavor without getting into the weeds of having to deal with a lot of spells.
I think the limit on how many spells they have allows me to be a magic caster without flicking through 500 pages of spells and remembering what each one does, then remembering how often I've used them, have I upcasted them. At this point, I'm getting bored of my character sheet. Whereas Soul Knife Rogue, it's, do you want to throw the blade? Yes. Do you want to follow the blade? No. Okay, that's it. Take one off the 8 uses of your spell blade that you can do. I absolutely love Soul Knife Rogue. I think also, not to insult yourself who play fighters and barbarians, but there is so much more that you can do creatively in terms of a battlefield. Whereas maybe I'm just not creative enough with fighters and barbarians, but it's go forward, hit again, hit again, hit again, hit again. Whereas with like Bard and Rogue, it's like, okay, where is everyone on the battlefield? Where is my best positioning? How can I avoid being hit because I don't have enough HP to survive? I think it's just a more tactical subclass compared to almost all the others. And it's not the question, but I think the worst one is Ranger.
Rangers get a lot of bad stick.
They do, and they should.
Aww.
Ranger is for a D&D of a different time, I think.
Really?
Early
There's a lot of great new subclass stuff, though.
I will admit I haven't read the subclasses stuff. Right. But the thing I don't like about Ranger is favored terrain and favored enemy.
It's changed though.
Oh, okay.
In the new rules, I think it might have been Tasha's. Favored enemy is now favored foe, and you basically use it like an advanced hunter's mark.
Oh,
so
okay.
It changes. You don't have to pick like I will fight only dragons, and then there's no dragons in the campaign. It's wasted. It can be whoever you're fighting, that is your favored foe, and if they die, you can change it to someone else.
Fair enough then. Fair enough. Maybe it's better than I think. I'm not going to give it a try. I'm gonna continue playing Rogue or DMing.
I would encourage you to try at least the Drake Warden Ranger, because I mean, at least I've played 2 one-shots with the Drake Warden Ranger, and to be fair, most of the entertainment I got out of it was making my little dragon just the goofiest little soft boy that was just like dribbling and was like, and that entertained me greatly. I don't know how it would play out in a longer campaign, but yeah, it's good fun. And also just a solid, reliable chip damage, which is just fantastic. So I recommend giving them a try.
You know what? I'm not gonna, but thank you. I don't play enough. I'm a forever DM, and I'm happy with that. If someone invites me to a random game, I'm gonna pick up Soul Knife Rogue, because then I can look like I know what I'm doing.
Sure. So out of your many Soul Knife Rogues that you've played, your little sweetie box of Soul Knife Rogues, are there any, which one, choose your favorite child, which one did you enjoy playing the most? Who were they?
So, what was his name? I forgot his name because it was quite hard to pronounce because I didn't choose it. But it was a Tabaxi Soul Knife Rogue. Really easy to go with Tabaxi Rogue. But he wore a tuxedo.
Nice.
And
a tuxedo Tabaxi.
Yeah. With like full on tuxedo, bow tie, the lot. Great. And he was basically he was basically James Bond. But for the bad guys. He was a hired killer. He had something like 67 confirmed kills. And his aim in life was to get to 100 because then he got a gold plaque from the Tuxedo Assassins Guild.
Were they all Tabaxis?
I think so, yes. I didn't get it was a one-shot, so I didn't get to create too much of the Tabaxi Guild. Sure. I just knew everyone wore tuxedos because they had to. Yeah, so he was on his way to 100 kills. He got 8 more during the one-shot.
And then they did
yeah, he got 8 more, and then they did like where are they now moment later on, and he had reached 100 by that point and had a plaque that he showed all the other players who did not seem impressed that he'd gone out to kill more people.
And then what though? Once he'd achieved his golden plaque, what did he do?
You get to 500, and then it's a platinum plaque, and then it's 1,000. If you get to 1,000 kills, they basically tell you off to stop killing people because you're like killing too many at that point. Yeah, I don't know what would happen.
It's your job to kill.
Yeah, I know. It's a confusing guild. But they can't all kill 1,000 people because they've got to allow reproduction. So you've got to slow down.
How many people are in this world that...
It wasn't my world, so let's say 1,001.
That would be too many people to kill.
Yeah, you can't just leave one person around, you know?
I do question the sustainability of a society with that smaller population. Anyway, one-shot characters.
Yeah, you don't ever think of you.
So you said up until Soul Knife Rogues, Bard was your favorite.Id you have a favorite subclass with Bard as well?
I'll be honest with you, it was only my favorite because it was the first 3 one-shots I was in was Bard, and I don't remember what I played. I don't even know if I got as far as giving them a subclass. But the first Bard I ever played his name was Bard, and he had to rhyme. He had a curse upon him, so everything he said had to rhyme.
Was this a choice you made, or
it was regretfully a choice I made? Yeah. Man, that backfired.
I can imagine.
I'm relatively good at thinking of rhymes on the spot. I am not that good at thinking of rhymes on the spot. I overestimated my ability by quite a lot. And by session 3...
Desperately avoiding saying the words purple or orange.
Well, yeah. It's like, what rhymes with Bard? I can't think of any word now. And by the time I thought of words to say, the conversation had moved on.
Right.
So I was like, oh, wait, could we go back to talking about that thing? Because I can think of a rhyme now. By session 3, I was like, DM, can I find a way to lift this curse? And they went, yeah, just stop doing it. It's really annoying. Like, okay. The campaign finished about 2 sessions afterwards, so I didn't even get to enjoy speaking normally for long enough.
that dual feeling of like the player's like, oh no, I've come up with this curse, so I must do this thing now. And I wish I hadn't, and I wish I could stop it. And the DM is simultaneously thinking, really wish they'd stop doing that. But neither of you had just said earlier.
Both like, well,
this
he
is
wants
silly.
to. He wants to. I don't know. I'm not going to say anything. I'm not going to say anything. Yeah, that was probably pretty much it.
But it's like a fun concept to throw at people for a very short amount of time. Maybe,
yes,
as a
like an hour.
Yeah, exactly. There was one of the streams that we had recently. The Huxley's Book Club was very sweet. Go and watch it. It's great. The characters were drawn into a demi-plane run by a god of storytelling.
All right.
And they accidentally triggered I think it was a curse where they had to, like, not the players, the characters would speak as if they were narrating.
Oh.
But it only lasted for about 10 minutes, 15 minutes.
Right.
And it was absolute chaos for those 15 minutes and just amazing. If it had gone on and on and on, it would have been tiring. But for a short amount of time, that kind of, rule to impose upon the characters and therefore the players can be great fun.
Yes. I'd love to do a musical session where the curses the characters have to sing, but I've yet to get permission from any player at my table to do that. And I'm not just going to impose it on poor defenseless players. I'm not that cool.
Yeah. That's quite a big step, especially if you're streaming it online.
Yes.
It's one thing if you're like at home with some friends and just there's sort of like no pressure to be good, and it's very silly. But yeah, I can imagine people getting sort of in their own heads about needing it to sound a certain way.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'd panic if someone asked me to sing on the spot on stream. I'd do it, but I'm an idiot with no shame. I would absolutely sing on stream. Yeah. There's not much I wouldn't do for money, to be honest. Today I'm going to sing. And I'm going to put on my fancy hat because I like our host. Her name is Nat.
And you got the rhyme in there.
Yeah,
well done.
I know.
No fancy hat, though. I'm very disappointed.
I know. I couldn't reach it in time. I'm sorry. I like it.
Marvellous. I'm going to roll the dice again.
Go for it.
She'll roll that dice. Okay. We've gone up to number 6. Number 6. Yes. Which is, how did you start playing TTRPGs?
Oh, great question. If anyone's ever listened to me in my life, they will already know this story, but I love telling it. I was told I would be a great dungeon master before I'd ever heard of D&D or TTRPGs at all, to be honest with you. A couple of my colleagues were talking, turned to me and said, Paul, you'd be a great dungeon master. I froze. I was like, what's a dungeon master?
What?
Is that a kinky thing? Sounds like a kinky thing. I don't think you should be saying that to me, guys. I'm your boss.
Inappropriate workplace behavior.
Go stack some shelves. What are you talking about? He said, no, D&D. You've heard of D&D. I was like, no, I've not heard of D&D. Admittedly, I was a massive nerd. Looking back, it was quite a surprise that I hadn't heard of Dungeons and Dragons. But he said, yeah, Dungeons and Dragons. I'm very surprised you've not played. You'd love it. You love telling stories, all this stuff. Can you run a game for us? And I was like, I've not heard of this thing, but yeah, sure, why not? This sounds like the perfect time to do. It is, right?
You put on a person. Oh, you'd be good at that. Run it. Do it for us. We know about it, but you don't. Lead it.
Right. And I thought that's a terrible idea, but sure. I'm not doing anything this Saturday, obviously. So I said, fine, let me do some research. It does sound fun, admittedly. It does sound like my sort of thing. So I do some research and I'll get back to you. So I did my research. I, for whatever stupid reason, came up with my own TTRPG system that, looking back, was a mixture of point buy and just dishing out points of inspiration willy-nilly whenever I felt like it. And so I put it up at work, said, right, anyone who wants to play D&D, come to my house at this time, we'll play a game. I'll create 10 characters, and then 4 people will turn up, and they can choose out the 10 characters. Great. 11 people turned up to my house for my first ever D&D game.
Wow, that's quite the party.
They kept knocking on my door. I was like, why are you here? I'm like, I was playing D&D. Okay. And then by the 8th person, I'm like, this is getting a bit much. Fine. We had 1d20 between all of us.
Wow.
That we had to get out my dog's mouth at one point, I will admit. But who was just loving all the people over.
Yeah, I can imagine.
I created another character. The balance was all over the place. One person was playing Daredevil. One person was playing Deadpool. One person was playing the Avatar. Like, the balance was absolutely all over the place. All I really knew was that Nat 1s were bad, Nat 20s were good. That was the extent of my knowledge at that point about D&D. And yeah, it was absolute chaos. They fought some spiders. They almost drowned. It was an absolute manic session. It took us about 4 hours because of how many people there were. We didn't make much progress. And it was horrible. And I fell in love with D&D and DMing after that. And I thought, there's got to be an easier way to do this.
Yeah, I was going to say, clarification on that sentence. Like, it was horrible, and I fell in love with D&D after that. Is that because, like, it was horrible, but I fell in love with it anyway, or it was horrible, but then I went away and looked at stuff to make it easier? And
no, it was horrible, and I fell in love with it anyway.
Yeah.
There was so many parts of it that I absolutely loved, and the parts that I thought were a bit chaotic was having 11 people. So I decided to never have 11 people at my table ever again. And touch wood, I've kept to that promise. It was really easy to keep to that promise. I stick it to around 4 or 5 now. And I think that's a good number. I'm going to stick there.
Yeah. I love the the pure carnage. Yes, I'll do this thing I've never done before. Sure, I'll just invite everyone. They won't show. Oh, they all showed. Guess it's just, yeah. Wow.
Like, just no matter what it is, if someone's never done it before, you don't let them be in charge of it their first time. Like, invite me to a game first. Looking back, they are incredibly lucky that it went anywhere near as good as it did. Everybody loved it. Everyone had a blast. Very few people turned up to work the next day because of how late we went. Luckily, I didn't get the blame for that. And I lived 100 steps from work at the time.
Did you go to work?
Yeah, I went to work. I was fine.
So you don't
I went to work at like 5 a.m. the next day after 3 hours sleep.
Oof.
I was much younger back then. I was so much younger. I could not do that now.
So the people that asked you in the first place, you should like D&D, you should DM for us. Do you still play with them? Are you still in touch?
No, I don't speak to any of those people anymore, but not because of the DMing. It's just been so long. I did for a while. It was a manic one shot. And then after that, we struggled to get all 12 of us off from work on the same day.
Wait, you tried to get everyone back again at the same time?
Yeah, thinking about it. Wasn't the yeah. Okay, I was new, to this DMing world.
Enthusiastic. Yeah, that's not to be sniffed at.
So I gave up and found new players, but everyone loved it so much, and so did I. And my girlfriend, wife now, but girlfriend at the time, said you were a complete natural at this. You made every single person cry with tears with how funny it was. Do a bit of research and find places to do it. So I did, and I started playing as a character. That's when I realized I didn't like it, and I've been being a dungeon master ever since.
Fair enough. Oh, that's nice. So do you play with your wife a lot?
Yeah, she's in my Curse of Strahd game.
Great.
She is the always present when I stream my Homebrew Havoc game. She is the person I bounce all my ideas off. She provides me with so many better ones. And then sometimes she'll tell me that this idea worked or this idea didn't. And yeah, she's absolutely a huge part of my TTRPG world. Even if she's not on Twitter, she's not in front of the camera for half of it. Without her, I wouldn't be able to do half the stuff I did. So yes.
Aw. It is nice to have someone that you can bounce the ideas off in that way. My husband does play D&D and other TTRPGs, but not to the same quantity as I do, and not online like I do. Only home games. But yeah, I think if you have a partner that is not into D&D, I'm not saying it's impossible. It's just I've heard someone before compare talking about D&D games similar to talking about a dream you had. Whereas for you, it's a visceral and exciting thing that's like, wow, this was incredible, and then this happened, and this happened, and it was so wacky and amazing. And so if the person that you're talking to was not part of it, was not there, it can be like, oh great, yeah, tell me more, or it can be like, sure, great.
I get that. I've not heard the phrase, like I've not heard it be described as similar to describing a dream, but I can see your point. I also think because D&D, TTRPGs, I'm sure, like with yourself, is such a big part of my life. I'm either at work or thinking about D&D, or both. I'm at work thinking about D&D. And if I didn't have a partner who was also excited or at least interested in that part of my life, it would be a struggle. Of course it would. Whenever you're passionate about anything, you want to share it with the people you love, with the people you care about. And if they're not fussed by it, it can be disheartening and it creates a disconnect. Whereas whenever I go to my wife, like, oh, in this game, I'm planning this, or they're going to be betrayed, or they're going to get killed, or there's going to be a huge explosion, everyone dies. I like her to be not as excited, it'd be very hard, but at least pretend to be excited about what I'm talking about.
I'm sure she is, especially
yeah.
Yeah, especially if she's playing in your campaign.
That is the hard part that I found, because I rely so much on her bouncing ideas off her. When she's in my campaign, I can't do that because she's in it. So I have no one to talk to about the massive plot twists I'm planning. Because I can't tell her, which does suck. So she's only allowed to be in one game at a time.
I guess it depends on the kind of game, because some games you might be, and again, I don't know your wife, but I think some games you could probably get away with sort of bouncing ideas off a person and then them going, yep, that's fine, I can pretend that I don't know that, and they could truthfully be like, how would my character react? Genuinely, what would they do not knowing the secret?
She probably would be fine with that, but I like to see raw reactions on stream, and because I stream all my games, I like to see her be as surprised as everybody else. And she's not very good at feigning surprise, I will admit. So she'd give away that she knew straight away. And I also like after the game her going, oh my god, I didn't know you were going to do that, why didn't you tell me? It's like, because I like this conversation. So yeah, I like giving her surprises as much as I like giving any player surprises.
I think what you just were talking about there sort of points to something that we talk about session zeros all the time, and the importance of having session zeros and chatting to players about their expectations and their wants and wishes for the campaign. It's also so valuable to have little post-show wrap-ups, not just at the end of a campaign, but like after each session, to just allow yourself those moments of like, oh, this was really cool when, and oh, I didn't see that coming, and all of that. And I mean, we do them through Stars and Wishes. I don't know if you know that system. Which works really nicely and gives it a little bit of structure, but also helps that sort of post-game debrief and cool down to sort of, because otherwise, especially if you're playing online, you're just like, and now I close my laptop or turn my screen off, and I'm just sat in a room on my own with a black screen going, okay.
Okay, that was a good show. Go me. That was a lot. I completely agree. And a lot of my sessions, episodes, whatever you want to call them, I love ending on a cliffhanger. Especially with Homebrew Havoc, when it's the end of a trio and there's 2 weeks for people to wait. So I like ending on big cliffhangers there to draw people back in. So I always have to have 10 to 15 minutes with my players after a stream for them to go, oh my god, that was an amazing cliffhanger, what's going to happen? I'm like, I don't know. Let's find out in 2 weeks. But yeah, I always think like a brief cool down with your players is really important, especially like you said on stream, because my stream is a show. All my players are part of the show, they're in on it, it's a performance. And to go from me as a performer to me sitting at a computer, there needs to be a transition. Otherwise, it's too jarring for me. I'm sure it's too jarring for my players as well. So yeah, we need that moment where we're just sitting, not as players, not as performers, but just as people with a passion for TTRPG, just going, that was great, guys. Really well done. We did fantastic there. People were loving it. Or even like, guys, that was a heavy session. Had some combat or near-death experiences for some of you. How are you? Are you all okay? If at any point I crossed the line that you weren't comfortable with, not that, I've ever done that or ever would, go near those sort of things, just let me know. If you don't feel comfortable doing it as a group, let me know privately. I'm always open. I always encourage open communication with my players, as any good DM should. And sometimes I'm even like, Shiv, who is a regular at my table. Shiv, I'm going to message you because I have a certain way I want to take this, and I just want to run it by you so that you know what's going to happen and that you can prepare for it in any way you want. But yeah, absolutely, a post session chat or post session rundown is very important.
Yeah, absolutely. Right. Well, we've got time for maybe one or two more, so I'm gonna roll that dice again.
Roll that dice.
Thank you very much. I love that I didn't have to tell you that's how we do it, and you just sort of picked up on it anyway. We're sticking with multiples of 3. This time we've gone to 18.
Woo!
So this one I might reword slightly because you mostly DM, but who's the best villain you've ever faced in a game or ever got to DM, got to play in a game?
Ooh, best villain is going to be tough because I've never played games long enough to get to a BBEG. But
really?
I've only ran 2 long form campaigns, like proper long. But my most hated NPC that I love playing is probably a guy called George. And he is the chief of police-esque person in the original town that my homebrew Havoc players were in. Mm-hmm. And he basically turned up. His whole role, very low-level role on the day, was to turn up, accuse the players of stealing. Mm-hmm. And then they would say, we didn't steal, and we'll go fetch the thing you think we stole and bring it back to prove our innocence. Completely minor character. That was it. You were never going to speak about him again. Until my players said those fateful words, what's his name? And I blanked because I hadn't prepared his name. So I went, George. And they absolutely hated George. They absolutely despised him. How dare he accuse these people who were present at the scene of the crime for committing the crime? They hated him so much, I wanted to bring him back. Just to rile the players up. So since then, every chief of police in every town is called George. There is George, there's Sir George, there's Big George, there's Mini George. Mm-hmm. And each one of them is a chief of police, and a lot of them are very disliked. The original George has now accused... Oh, there's so much context going into this. Accused one of my players of rubbing his genitalia onto a pastry that he was planning on eating.
Is that a crime in the city?
Yes, you're not he actually did do it. He did commit the crime.
I mean, I'd like to clarify. It's an awful thing to do, and you should not do that. But the way it was worded made it sound like the law number 38: one shall never rub one's genitalia against the pastry.
It was an owlin, rubbed his genitalia onto a pastry, gave the pastry back to the baker and said, can you sell this to George? And it turns out the baker told George this because NPCs do normal things sometimes. And so George took them to court and effectively sued the players. So we had an entire court episode where it was just George as a prosecutor and the players as defendants. And I'm a huge fan of law. And like Law and Order and courtroom dramas and stuff. So I've rarely played it up. And George is my favorite bad guy.
What prompted the abuse of the pastry?
They knew George was coming in.
Right. Okay. So it was purely just to antagonize him. Yeah,
that was exactly it. And then
they did that. Did George win the court case then?
Sort of. It was a lighter fine because the players did good defending. the perpetrator of the crime has to serve community service in 2 months' time.
Right. Okay.
So it's a delayed sentence, but they should have been punished a lot worse.
Yeah.
Yeah, they did a really good job at being defendants. They could the way that I did it was that they could magically bring in any NPC as character witnesses. So all the people they'd saved, all the people that they'd looked after, all these people were brought in. And like, oh, does this character seem like the type of person who would do this? And they'd obviously go no, because they just saved them from a dragon attack or something. Yeah.
I think it sounds like you went far too easy on them.
I probably did, yeah. But it was funny. And I couldn't exactly go, oh, you're all in jail now, session's over. I'll see in a bit. They were quite in the middle of a heavy moment. It was sort of a filler episode.
Right.
Or a bottle episode, though, is actually what it's called on TV. It was just really... I wanted to do a courtroom drama. That was all it is. It was purely self-serving.
Oh, no, like sounds excellent. I'm very much on board with that setup. But just, from the evidence you have presented to me, I think they should have been charged worse for that. Outrageous behaviour. Poor Baker, to put the Baker in that position as well.
Yeah, I know. It was a bit hard. They did really well because the mayor of the town was the judge. And they brought in the mayor's son to the stand, who they had saved and rescued from the mines in a completely different town, miles away. So the judge's son was a chief character witness. So the judge was definitely persuaded by that point.
Fair enough. And I love the concept of the Pokemon style, every police officer is called George.
Yeah, that's exactly what inspired it after the first George, yeah.
Have you taken that further? Do you now have like a doctor in every town with the same name?
Interestingly, they've yet to meet or need a doctor. So no, but so far all the police use are George. And not there. Maybe in season 2 we'll do the same thing.
Maybe there's a baker as well.
Maybe.
In every town. Or a cabbage guy.
I like it.
There's got to be someone selling cabbages in every town. That's my rule.
That's fair. That's absolutely fair.
Right, I think we've got time for one more, so I'm going to roll that dice.
Yeah, roll that dice.
Sticking with the multiples of 3, that is a 9. This feels like a nice one to end things on. What advice would you give to a new player?
A new player? Listen to what the DM is asking for in terms of character creation, and just have the absolute most fun possible. Make sure you are at the right table with a session 0, because some players want to do nothing but combat, some players want to focus more on role-playing. The type of players I like are the role-playing side, because that's what I like to do. Not to say that it's never combat or that I can't do combat, I just don't find it as interesting. And what I mean by listen to the DM is, there are some campaigns that I've ran, Homebrew Havoc is one of them, where I've said, I want as much backstory as humanly possible. Give me absolutely everything. I want your life story ingrained into this campaign. And then there's Curse of Strahd, where I've said, I'm teleporting you all into the Curse of Strahd domain. Your backstories are not really going to have much of an impact. Have a personality? Sure. And motivation? Yes. But I don't need to know about your 7 or 8 siblings, unless you want me to use it who psychologically torture you as Strahd. Which suddenly all the siblings disappeared after that. But yeah, just have fun and always ask if you want to do something. It doesn't matter how outlandish it is, the DM will either say yes or no. That is their only options. If you're at my table, I will probably say yes. The pastry rubbing genitalia is not even the top 5 weirdest things I've let my players do. But yeah, if you think something should be in a room, like a table or a boulder, ask the DM. They'll probably say yes, and then you can launch a boulder over there. Wonderful. Don't be afraid to be creative, and just, like I said, just have fun. That's all it is about. Yeah, a lot of my advice is making your DM's life easier, because I'm selfish and my life should be as easy as possible. But yeah, absolutely have fun and go wild. wild and do crazy, crazy things.
Lovely. Some great advice, I would say. Enjoy it. Find good people and be good to them.
Yeah.
And yeah, get stuck in. Great stuff. Well, I think we're just about wrapping up. Is there obviously we've talked about AmpersandD20 and the campaigns that you run on there. Did you want to just do another quick rundown? What's your schedule? When can people find you? Where can people find you?
So you can find me on TikTok, Twitch, and Twitter at AmpersandD20. And normally, when my internet works, you can find me every Tuesday and almost every Thursday, bare minimum, playing Curse of Strahd and Homebrew Havoc, respectively. You can occasionally find me on Monday evenings, playing playtesters every 6 or so weeks, whenever we have a Kickstarter to playtest, basically. Keep an eye out for it. And starting at the end of June, you will be able to find me Friday nights. That is 11 p.m. BST, so whatever time zone that is. Very late, we are running Descendium, which is another homebrew campaign where Viking warriors face off against the Greek gods. They have to climb Mount Olympus until they meet Zeus and rescue Frigga from his clutchy little hands. But that's not to the end of June. That is 11 p.m. BST. Because we're trying to tap into that American audience. And apparently I don't need sleep. So 2 a.m. bedtime. Yeah. But yeah, that's not till the end of June for now. Probably won't be Friday. Hopefully yesterday you should have all watched Homebrew Havoc. And then next Tuesday and next Thursday. My internet isn't back up by the time this episode goes out. I'll be in a puddle crying. So don't worry about it.
Fair enough. And before we go, is there anything that you would love to talk about that you've not had a chance to talk about?
No, we have touched on all points. I've got a Kickstarter coming out, but I'll talk about that more closer to time because it's not until later this year. But yeah, come check out Twitch, Discord. I'm assuming we'll put links below.
Yes, yeah. There should be links in chat right now if the kobolds are on it. Thank you, kobolds. Love you,
kobolds. Do your jobs. Do your job, kobolds.
No, well, okay, no, well, hang on, because our other show that we have, Talking as a Free Action, where I play my Question Master character, she's not very nice, and she's not very nice to the kobolds. So in Talk Together, I like to be nice to the kobolds.
Well, you can be as nice as like I'm telling them to get on with their jobs. George will come and arrest you.
Oh no. Okay. Well, look out, kobolds. I'll try and protect you as much as I can. All right. Well, in that case, thank you everyone for coming and joining us for Talk Together. You'll find us here every Friday, 6 till 7 p.m. Currently BST, but GMT in the other half of the year. We'll be talking with people together, and it'll either be this kind of show, or it'll be a post-show wrap-up, or it'll be Talking as a Free Action, which is our little Crystal Maze style dungeon crawl where we take a character from one of our campaigns and we run them through some trials and tribulations and such. On Mondays and Tuesdays, you can watch our D&D games. Currently, we've got on Mondays alternating, we've got Fracture, which is our long-running campaign, and I believe it's either the very end of Huxley's book club, or it'll be the start of our new 4-parter campaign. So look out for that. There will be details in chat. And then on Tuesdays, we've currently got replays of one of our old campaigns, which I believe is still Sea of Swords Forsaken. So have a look at those. All of these streams at twitch.tv/roll together RPG. VODs are available immediately after the stream, or you can catch up on YouTube or on podcasts. Hello, podcast listeners. Thank you for joining us. And you can find us on all the socials, most of the socials at Roll Together RPG. Come join us on Patreon, support us. We love all our Patreon supporters. They're all fantastic people, and you could be as cool as they are from as little as one of your local currencies per month. So please do. It allows us to do all of the things that we do. That's everything from me. Any final words, Paul?
Have fun, stay safe, and stay sexy, guys. Stay sexy.
All right. We'll add that to our list. We usually finish this out with stay classy at the table.